Hey there, everybody, and welcome to our Survivor Winners at War Episode 10 reaction. This could very well be titled Counting is Hard, and my brain hurts at this very moment because I have been trying my best to figure out what exactly happened at this tribal council.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a head scratching after watching this episode for me.
I wish, yeah, okay, well, okay, let's have some real talk here. I know they wanted the show, everyone thanking Probst, and the family visit was sweet and genuine, and I'm...
Yes, it
What?
was!
Yeah, and-
Oh, Tony on the sand crying. Who out there wasn't crying with
I know,
that?
and we will talk all about the emotion and how much it all felt and all of that, and I'm not trying to be cynical here, trust me, I'm not, but... Could we maybe find a way to cut a couple of seconds out at the very end when they're all thanking Probst and get a tally of the votes so that people who are watching the show can kind of actually know who voted for who? Because as much as I love the family visit stuff, there's a very big missing piece to the puzzle right now.
Oh, yeah, there is.
And I've got a theory. It may be wrong, but it is a theory, and we will talk through it. By the time a lot of you are watching this, it might actually be out there, and if it is, feel free to share in the comments. We'll talk through everything more once we have the cold hard facts tomorrow. Before we dive in, though, if you guys do like this video, give us a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other updates. Before we even get into the complicated vote tallying of this, is Tyson the right person to sort of target within that group? Would you go after Tyson over Kim? Because I would not.
No, Tyson, I said this in the last video, I'll say this again. Tyson is somebody that needs to go out. He has too many friends on the jury, but he doesn't need to go out just yet. There is time to get rid of him. Kim, on the other hand, I love Kim. I'd be very afraid.
I would be terrified, shaking in my boots. Every expression you want to use for fear would be me playing in the game with Kim, and it is fun to watch the Tony and Sarah squabbles.
Well, yeah, that's why when I'm watching Sarah being like, this is really important. Like, Kim is a problem. Like, why aren't you listening to me? I was like, man, I feel your frustration on this. Kim is a problem. Kim is a very, very good player. She needs to go, or you're all going to lose.
The unfortunate problem for Sarah is, I know Tony ranks patience very low on his survivor skill-o-meter. I think listening may actually be even lower than patience with Tony sometimes, but I don't know if that conversation really measured up to anything at all, but I would have gotten rid of Kim over Tony. I mean, not Kim over Tony, Kim over Tyson,
Yep.
just because of the fact that I think Kim is a much more sneaky player. She's much more, I think, capable of winning people over really fast. But, okay, let's do this. Let's try to figure this out. So, it is of my belief that there are 5 votes in here to get rid of Tyson. We didn't see all of them, but 99% of the time, if they don't show us a vote at Tribal, it's for the person who ends up being voted off. And they try to make you have suspense for as long as possible.
Yeah, they're not going to hide out a vote that could have caused more drama for us watching. That's what I think.
Yeah, so I think that vote was for... I don't think that was a vote for Sophie or anything like that. I think this was a vote for Tyson, and Tyson ends up going. So we have to play things out sort of in succession at this point. We enter tribal council with 10 people, and then we have the brilliant standoff between Jeremy and Sarah, who neither one of them really seems to be... oh, no, you go. No, you go. You go. That was...
And then Jeff's like, all right, well, I'll go then. Are we ready to vote?
Yeah, all of that was really, really funny. The funniest part of it, though, was that I think somebody had said, is everybody ready? And then Jeremy says, nope. And then, like, I've used it before. I'm using it again. Jeremy plays his Exploding Kittens nope card in this situation.
That's right.
And then plays his peace out advantage. And in the process, and we'll jump back on this and talk about it in a moment, whether or not Jeremy makes a mistake here. But he pieces out on his entire alliance, basically. Leaves them all. It seems like everyone starts scrambling again on some level.
Yeah.
So now we're at a position where with Jeremy gone, and then Sarah decides, okay, I'm going to steal Denise's vote. It was 5-4. Then it becomes 6-3.
Yeah.
Now, let's get on the thinking cap here, because only 2 people voted for Sophie. My theory is that Michelle was never really with the Denise, Kim, Tyson, Jeremy, Michelle group, and yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of think that as well. I mean, we saw everything that happened last week, and then sort of Michelle and Nick were kind of feeling on the outs. And I'm not saying that they're really have a partnership or in any kind of alliance together, but I'm sure that bonded them in some kind of way where they were both like, you know, we're kind of on the outskirts of stuff. You know, it's not going to hurt us to kind of vote together.
Yeah, I feel like she must have been aware of something on some level who they may have been voting for, because the number of votes here is very, very specific in 5-2-2. And what this means is that in the event that Kim had actually played the idol on Tyson, then it would have been a split vote with Denise and Sophie, and then Denise would have been voted out of the game. And if there was just one number that was sort of different in this configuration, the plan would not have worked as accurately. I mean, I guess theoretically, if Michelle had then voted for Denise instead of Tyson, like let's say she voted for Tyson and she changed it, then I guess it would be 4-3-2, and then either one of them would have still gone. But I think that Michelle either must have known what the plan was in advance, or she's sort of reading the room at this point.
Yeah, because she, like, it's pretty bold for everybody to be like, you know, let's just go over here and talk about it. All 5 of us, let's go over here and talk about it. It's like, whoa, okay. And that is boldness happening here. So, and Michelle wasn't really part of that.
No.
So she had to at least kind of have some kind of idea, but I'm sure she was probably reading the room as well. She's a really smart player.
Yeah, she's smart, and she's probably thinking, you know what, there's a good chance this idol play isn't going to end up happening, or she knows that Tyson's someone who they're targeting, so go ahead, be with the majority of the group. You can kind of act like you're with them. If Michelle is sort of our mole within the group, I mean, if you are Kim, if you are Denise, or I guess even Jeremy, do you feel after the fact, are you just like, how dare you, Michelle? How dare you go, even though your vote wouldn't have ultimately mattered that much anyway?
It feels sort of along those lines of with like Big Brother, where it's kind of like, you know, your vote's not going to matter, so you're going to just vote with the house and live to fight another week and have that time to then, you know, kind of try to make an alliance out of that, try to work some magic out of that.
Should we give Sarah the MVP here for playing the advantage and stealing Denise's vote, because ultimately Kim does play her idol on Denise, and it feels like I don't like to criticize Kim, who is the GOAT, and I have said this before, I love Kim, but these are winners, and I kind of feel like if they're playing the steal a vote on Denise probably isn't the person who they're putting most of their votes off. They're trying to throw you off unless they're thinking this is reverse psychology.
I mean, I can kind of understand where Kim would be coming from with this in the first initial gut reaction to be, okay, if they're taking away Denise's vote, Denise made that huge move earlier on Sandra. Maybe they are coming after Denise. So, I mean, I can see where her logic is going with this to play it on Denise. It was just, she had no real way of knowing that they were really going to split between the two of them.
The reality here is, I think if any of us in this online Survivor ecosystem come on the internet in the next 10 minutes and say, I know for sure what happened and what every single's motivation just take a giant L right now, because you don't know, we don't know, no one knows. It is insanity what happened. They probably showed us like 4 minutes out of an absolutely insane, tribal council that was probably 10 times as long as that.
Yeah, I really wish that the tribal had been a bit longer. And, I did like the family visits. I like that emotional stuff.
Okay, now it's your turn to have the butt come any second now.
And watching Tony crying to stand and Parv with the tear going down her cheek was just killing me. But,
there we go.
Yes, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more going on at Tribal Council. This was pretty crazy. There was so many advantages being played, and just the strategy that was going on was sick. It was awesome. I would have liked to have seen it really kind of unfold a bit better.
Yeah,
it felt rushed.
It did feel rushed, and that's why we're missing, I think, a big piece of this puzzle, and that is, let's get back to the Jeremy of it all right now. And whether or not Jeremy made a right move, but because if the votes were coming on Jeremy, I think it's easy to say, okay, Jeremy, you don't want to be a part of this mess. Get out of here as soon as possible. But if he was going to be safe, he hurts his group just by leaving.
He does, but at the same time, I mean, my understanding is this is the last time he can play this peace out advantage, as you've been calling it.
Yeah.
So this is for $2 million. I understand you're kind of hurting that group a little bit, and that could come back to bite you, but you do have then a little bit of time to maybe mend some of those fences afterwards. We'll talk about the promo later, so maybe not.
Yeah.
But, it's hard. The paranoia is very real. I mean, they talked about it last week. They talked about it again tonight. It is Survivor insanity, as they said. So I understand why he was probably feeling pretty weird about stuff, that maybe he was not falling on the right side of the numbers, and that maybe somebody was going to be coming after him, and sort of watching everybody scramble around and kind of whispering and possibly changing stuff. I'm sure he was just like, okay, you know what? Peace.
We should just wear permanently tinfoil hats for the remainder of this video, because we are going to have to write so many narratives for all of this, because I'm about to spin a yarn here.
All right, let's have it.
What if, because we have the standoff between Jeremy and Sarah in that moment, they are on opposite sides of the vote. Jeremy has seen Survivor a number of times, clearly. Jeremy knows that there are vote steals, there are extra votes, there are all sorts of advantages, and because Sarah is not waiting until later on, until after all the votes have been cast, he knows it's probably not an idol that she has. Yeah. So maybe Jeremy is thinking, okay, she's probably giving this group an extra vote, and so that's going to make my presence here pretty much useless, because it's not going to be a 5-5 vote anymore. I don't want to be outnumbered. I'll see you guys later, and then he leaves.
It's possible. I mean, we know that she's had this advantage in past games. We know that she's played it well in past games. If this advantage was going to come in this game and people were giving out advantages as they have been, why wouldn't you give this to her of all the people? So it is very possible, tinfoil hat, that he really thought ahead on that and was like, all right, this could be a thing that's happening, so I need to get out of here.
Yeah, I think ultimately Jeremy does put himself in a rough spot, but I think he also did what he had to do in this moment, and you can always reset and then bounce back. And yeah, like you said, we'll talk about it in the preview more. But
yeah, I mean, things change all the time, right? This is Survivor. So, I mean, things are even changing at the Tribal Council. So he's got some time. I know he probably pissed some people off, but he's got some time.
I think this vote may still be changing as we speak. So I think that this is a great Tribal Council like this, just because it was unpredictable. I think Tyson, it was kind of predictable, I guess, that eventually he was going to go. Didn't really see it playing out in this particular way. Can we give my guy Tony some props here? I have waited 14 minutes to talk about Tony for all of the immunity idols that he found on Cagayan. He did not win a single immunity necklace. He lost to a lot of people that you would not think a guy like Tony would lose to in challenges. And yet, he wins one that is basically stand in place and be as patient as humanly possible. And this is Mr. As Seen sprinting through the jungle in the promo for the next episode, actually winning an immunity.
And I completely agree. I know that he is pretty much all over the place and doing this and doing that, and he's poking fun at not having patience, and then of course winning this that has a lot of patience. But he also might be selling himself a little short. He is the guy who has sat in a spy shack for very long periods of time and has been very patient for information. Maybe he's selling himself a little bit short.
This is the first episode I really felt like we saw full aggro Kage on Tony, and I think it is because he had that necklace, he knew he was safe, he knew he could sort of run around and try to dictate things and try to find a way in order to make stuff happen, because he did, at least at one point, want Tyson to go. It seems like Tony kind of got to a certain extent of what he wanted, but I think this is the time we need to start playing the sad Sarah McLachlan music to say farewell to the Ladder Lads as an alliance.
It's done.
Maybe the Ladder Lads, the Tony, Jeremy, Tyson, and Ben group. Maybe the real Ladder Lads were the friends we made along the way.
Maybe they were never really that concrete of an alliance to begin with.
No, it does not feel like it at this point. They have fallen apart at the seams. Maybe everything we have thought has just been wrong, and maybe this entire season of Survivor has more twists than a Black Mirror episode, where maybe Nick and Michelle aren't as close as they seem. Maybe the Ladder Lads aren't an alliance. Here is, we had Sophie and Sarah, and there was discussion from Sarah about getting rid of Kim, who I thought she was working with.
Yeah, I don't know.
Up is down, left is right. I
think it's just everybody is getting real close to that money now, that it's like what they kind of said when all the family members were there, where it was like, oh, it's so nice to see somebody I can actually trust. I was just like, yeah, I mean, you guys are really at that point in the game. It's $2 million and you guys are all getting real close to the end of that. So is there really any alliances that matter, that are sticking? I mean, no.
Here's a hot take. I'm not saying he's going to win. I don't think he's going to win. The safest person in the game at this moment is Ben Driebergen, everyone. Mr. I am going to spill the beans to Rob in episode 1 is now somehow...
You're not wrong.
Ben is actually in the most amazing spot imaginable.
Nobody's talking about him. You are not wrong. He is in a good spot.
It's so crazy. I mean, I thought coming into this episode, Sophie, really good position. Nothing's going to happen to Sophie. Sophie gets her name written down on a couple of occasions. Everything is so discombobulated. Okay, we have our brains have exploded outward a little bit. Let's have some comfort food for the soul now, and let's discuss the family visit, because it did take up about 25 minutes of this episode.
It took up a lot of this episode.
It did, and okay, so there's a number of things that we have to do and talk through about all of this. I will do a brief cleanup on aisle Matt. I had another tinfoil hat theory that this was production trying to make sure people didn't throw the family visit challenge, and that's why they brought the kids out. Apparently Tyson really pushed for this before coming out to the game. Maybe everyone kind of knew about that in advance. I don't know the origination. I do still think that production is really tired of the family visit winner of this challenge ultimately getting burned for it, and I don't think they wanted to have people throwing the family visit challenge. I still believe that. I also still believe they do not want to have young children there and then be like, oh, because your dad did terrible at the challenge, now you don't get to spend time with him, because that's just really mean.
Oh, that is mean. No, this was the right way to go about it. Just let everybody have a minute. And I mean, this is all winners. This is a very special season. So just let everybody have a minute, kind of regroup, give everybody that kind of extra energy, remember what you're fighting for, and then go.
I really liked a lot of this. I'm not going to say that I liked all 25 minutes of it. I think we could have lost about 3 or 4 minutes in here and added some more strategy. But I was so compelled for the entire 10 minutes, like the first 10 minutes of this episode, when everybody's like coming out, I was all in on all of it. I was like, oh, look, here is we're getting to see these full families. Here's Kim, and here's all Kim's kids, and this is so sweet. And here's Tony, who we never saw Mrs. Tony, the entire time Tony played the first...
Mrs. Tony!
And
what's happening?
I don't know her name, I'm sorry. And I was so excited, and then Tony's just like sobbing, and it's...
I know!
And-
I was sobbing with him. It was so, like, just so much. It was so much.
It was
so much. And then Jeremy's little sons came out. I
Yeah.
was done, wrecked. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And then they brought everybody over to Edge of Extinction, and then Parv is crying.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
And John Fincher gets to finally be a Survivor returning player for his, like... I love how they don't even mention, by the way, that John Fincher is a former Survivor player. They just say, oh, I met my husband because of Survivor. Can't you let John Fincher have a moment that is not him being screwed by Russell Hantz? Like, is that too much to really ask? Apparently it is.
Apparently it is.
But, no, all of it was sweet. It's nice sort of seeing everybody in that environment and seeing those people who have been suffering.
And it's just nice in general right now with everything that's going on in the world to have some nice moments. We just lost God Friended Me, which is such a positive show. It is so nice to have just these moments where it's like, look at Jeremy's little kids, they're so cute.
Well, CBS may have unfriended God Friended Me this week, but they friended all of the Survivor cast family members.
Yes, they did.
They friended John Fincher to the extreme on tonight's new episode.
You are friending him.
I find the best thing about, just no offense to John Fincher, who I think is pretty funny. The funniest thing about John Fincher remains Jeff Probst in the pregame assessment calling him a poser, which I think is the only time anyone has ever been called a poser in the history of Survivor. But I'm sorry, John Fincher, I will stop talking about you now. I loved a lot of the strategy in this episode. It was crazy. I wish there was a little bit more strategy time.
I agree. There needed to be more strategy time. I enjoyed the family visits
Yeah.
a lot. I really did. But yeah, there needed to be more of that because there was a lot happening in Tribal and there needed more time. It was not enough.
Well, here's the good news for us. We have more time because we're going to be talking about the preview for what is coming up next, including the return of Double Agent Tony, which is really a perfect name for him given his spy shacks, but that's going to be fun. We'll go through that. And if you guys did like this video, give us a like, subscribe, give us your thoughts on all this craziness in the comments. And if you want to support us further, check the link in the description to the store, and we'll see you here next time.